Imagine you're driving down a winding coastal road in Queensland, kids in the back, surfboards strapped to the roof, and your SUV is eating up every bump, every curve, every unsealed stretch like it was born for it. Now imagine that same car sitting in peak hour Sydney traffic, smooth, quiet, and comfortable, without breaking a sweat. Sounds like the perfect family car, right? Well, today we're putting that exact idea to the test, because the question every Australian family is asking right now is simple but seriously important. Is there still one SUV that genuinely does it all better than the rest on Australian roads specifically? Not American highways, not European motorways, Australian roads. Red dirt tracks, school pickup zones, highway road trips, and everything in between. Stay with me, because what we found is going to surprise you, and it might just change what you buy next. Welcome back to the Drive Intel, where we break down the real stories behind the cars you actually want to drive. If you're new here, do yourself a favor and hit that subscribe button right now, and tap the like button if you've ever stood in a car dealership feeling completely overwhelmed by options. Because today we are cutting through all of that noise and giving you the honest, researched breakdown you deserve. So let's set the scene properly. Australia is not a small country with easy roads. It is a continent. It has some of the most diverse and demanding driving conditions on the planet. You've got the urban sprawl of Melbourne and Sydney, where stop-start traffic is just part of daily life. You've got the Northern Territory, where you can drive hundreds of kilometers without seeing another car. You've got school runs in the suburbs, camping trips to Fraser Island, beach launches in Western Australia, and highway cruising between Brisbane and the Gold Coast. Any family SUV claiming the top spot has to handle all of it, not just some of it, all of it, and that's exactly the filter we're applying today. Now, for years, there have been a handful of models that Australian families kept coming back to. The Toyota RAV4, the Mazda CX-5, the Hyundai Tucson, the Kia Sportage, the Ford Escape, the Mitsubishi Outlander. These names are familiar to almost every Aussie family shopping for an SUV. But in recent years, the market has changed dramatically. New technology, updated safety features, hybrid powertrains, bigger screens, better fuel economy. The competition has gotten fierce, and the gaps between the best and the rest have narrowed in ways that would genuinely shock you if you were last shopping 5 years ago. Let's start with what Australian families actually need from an SUV. And this is where a lot of car reviews go wrong. They focus on what looks impressive on a spec sheet, rather than what matters in real life. Real Australian families need 7 seats, or at least the option for them. They need strong fuel economy because petrol prices in Australia are no joke. They need a decent boot space because weekend trips don't pack themselves. They need solid towing capacity for boats, caravans, and trailers. They need advanced safety features because roads can be unpredictable and precious cargo doesn't get a second chance. And they need reliability because taking your car to the shop every 3 months is not a lifestyle anyone wants. Now, if we're being completely honest with you, and that's what the Drive Intel is built on, one name keeps rising to the top when you measure against all of those criteria at once. And that name is the Toyota RAV4. But before you scroll away, thinking you already know this story, wait. Because the version of the RAV4 we're talking about in 2024 and into 2025 is a very different animal from the one your neighbor bought 7 years ago. And the reasons it still dominates are more nuanced than just brand loyalty or dealer networks. Let's talk about the hybrid variant specifically, the RAV4 hybrid, because this is where Toyota has absolutely nailed the Australian family market. The 2.5-liter 4-cylinder petrol engine, paired with dual electric motors, delivers a combined output that gives you genuinely spirited performance without the fuel bill that used to come with a larger engine. In real-world Australian driving conditions, owners are consistently reporting fuel consumption figures between 5 and 6 liters per 100 kilometers. For a car this size, carrying a full family and their luggage, that is remarkable. Over a year of school runs, weekend getaways, and highway trips, those savings add up to hundreds and sometimes thousands of dollars. In a cost-of-living environment where every dollar counts, that matters deeply. But fuel economy alone doesn't win the family SUV crown. Let's talk about space, because boot space and cabin room are where families feel the difference every single day. The RAV4 gives you 580 liters of cargo space with all seats up, and that jumps to 1,059 liters when the rear seats are folded. Compared to the Mazda CX-5, which offers 442 liters standard, or the Hyundai Tucson with 558 liters, the RAV4 is genuinely more practical for the kind of family loads Australians carry on a regular basis. Whether it's a week's worth of groceries, camping gear for 4 people, or 2 large suitcases and a pram, it fits without a battle. Now let's address the elephant in the room, because no discussion of the best family SUV for Australian roads is complete without talking about safety. Australian families care deeply about safety ratings, and they should. The RAV4, particularly in its latest iteration, carries a 5-star ANCAP rating with impressive scores across multiple categories. Its pre-collision system is sharp and responsive. The lane departure alert works in real traffic without being annoyingly oversensitive. The blind spot monitoring is clear and reliable, and the rear cross-traffic alert has saved more than a few tight reversing situations in crowded school car parks. Toyota's Safety Sense package is comprehensive, and it comes standard, not as an expensive optional extra. Compare this to some of its key rivals. The Mazda CX-5 also carries strong safety credentials, and its interior quality is genuinely class-leading, arguably better than the RAV4s in terms of materials and finish. If you spend a lot of time behind the wheel and you care about the tactile experience of your car, the CX-5 feels more premium. But its cargo space is smaller. Its hybrid option is only now becoming more widely available in Australia, and it doesn't offer a third row. For some families, that interior refinement might tip the scales toward Mazda, and that's a completely valid call. The Hyundai Tucson and Kia Sportage deserve serious credit too. Both have gone through dramatic redesigns in recent years, and they now offer features that were unthinkable at this price point just a few years ago. Digital cockpits, panoramic sunroofs, over-the-air software updates, wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. The Tucson and Sportage feel genuinely futuristic inside, and their hybrid variants are strong performers. Where they still trail the RAV4 is in long-term reliability data and resale value. Australian buyers have access to a lot of data on this, and consistently, Toyota holds its value better and costs less to maintain over 5 years than either Hyundai or Kia. That doesn't make them bad choices, not at all. It just means the total cost of ownership still favors Toyota. Let's spend a moment on the Mitsubishi Outlander because it's made a real comeback and deserves to be part of this conversation. The PHEV version, the plug-in hybrid, is genuinely impressive, and for families who can charge at home, it delivers running costs that are almost embarrassingly low. It also offers proper 7-seat configuration with 3 rows, and its all-wheel drive capability is solid for Australian conditions, including light off-road tracks and rural gravel roads. Its styling is sharper now, and the interior has improved significantly. Where it still lags is in outright driving dynamics. On long highway drives, the Outlander can feel a little less refined than the RAV4 or the CX-5. But for a family that prioritizes space, fuel savings, and towing, it's a genuinely competitive option. Now, let's talk about Australian-specific considerations that often get left out of mainstream car reviews. Ground clearance matters here more than in many other markets. Australian families don't always stick to bitumen. Weekend camping trips, national park access roads, beach tracks, outback adventures. The RAV4, particularly in the all-wheel drive variant, has a ground clearance of 203 millimeters, which is solid for a suburban family SUV and handles most light off-road situations confidently. If you're a family that regularly ventures onto more serious terrain, you might be looking at a Mitsubishi Pajero Sport or a Toyota Fortuner, which belong to a slightly different category. But for the vast majority of Australian families whose off-roading involves gravel roads and occasionally soft sand, the RAV4 handles it well. Heat management is also something Australian buyers should think about more than they do. Australian summers are brutal. Interior heat buildup, air conditioning performance, and sun protection matter in ways they simply don't in cooler climates. The RAV4 hybrid's electric motor actually supports the air conditioning system more efficiently than a traditional combustion-only setup, which means you get powerful, responsive cooling without a massive hit to fuel economy. Over a Queensland summer or a Perth summer, that's a real-world advantage that owners genuinely notice. There's also the matter of dealer networks and servicing. Australia is a large country, and having access to a reliable service network matters, especially if you're in a regional area. Toyota's dealership and service network is the most extensive in Australia by a significant margin. If something goes wrong with your RAV4 in Broken Hill or Broome or Bundaberg, you will find a Toyota service center faster than you will find almost any other brand. That's not marketing. That's infrastructure reality, and for families who don't live in capital cities, it's a meaningful factor. Let's also address price, because the RAV4 is not the cheapest option in this segment. Entry-level RAV4 GX starts around the mid-30s in Australian dollars, and the hybrid variants push into the 40s and beyond, depending on trim. That's not pocket change. The Mazda CX-5 is comparable in price. The Hyundai Tucson and Kia Sportage come in slightly lower at entry level, which makes them attractive if budget is a hard constraint. But if you're financing over 5 years, and factoring in fuel savings and lower servicing costs, the RAV4 hybrid's higher sticker price often balances out, or even becomes cheaper in real total cost terms. This is something a lot of buyers miss because they focus only on the purchase price rather than the full 5-year ownership cost. So after all of this research, after looking at the real numbers, the real-world owner feedback, the safety data, the fuel economy figures, the cargo measurements, the servicing costs, and the Australian road conditions, where do we land? The honest answer is this. For most Australian families, in most situations, the Toyota RAV4 Hybrid remains the single best all-round choice in 2024 and into 2025. Not because it's perfect, not because every competitor is worse in every category, but because it hits the right notes across more of the categories that Australian families actually care about than any other single vehicle in the segment. It's the family SUV equivalent of a Swiss Army knife. It might not have the fanciest blade, but it has the right tools for almost every situation you'll encounter on Australian soil. That said, we want to be clear about something. The best car is always the one that fits your specific family's life. If interior quality matters most to you, the Mazda CX-5 is worth a serious look. If you want cutting-edge tech and a bold design at a slightly lower price, the Hyundai Tucson or Kia Sportage are genuinely excellent choices. If you need 7 seats and a plug-in hybrid setup, the Mitsubishi Outlander PHEV deserves your attention. The market in 2024 is strong enough that you won't make a terrible decision with any of these, but if you want the one that does the most things right for the most Australian families, the RAV4 Hybrid is still wearing the crown. Before we wrap up, we want to hear from you. Do you drive one of these SUVs? Are you currently shopping for a family car and trying to decide? Drop your thoughts, your questions, your experiences in the comments section below. Tell us what matters most to you in a family car. Is it fuel economy, space, safety, tech, or resale value? We read every comment, and we genuinely love hearing what you think. And if you found this video helpful, please share it with a friend or family member who's in the market for a new SUV right now. It takes 2 seconds, and it might save them thousands of dollars and weeks of confusion at the dealership. We're the Drive Intel, and our job is to make sure you always drive smarter. See you in the next one.